Swarmingtons! We hope you're crushing your sustainable goals this week. Thanks to all of you who have downloaded our app and sent through support and feedback. It really makes us so proud and means so much to us. So, today we're peeking behind the curtain to explore how we bring you the carbon footprint of products in our app. We started by collecting the data. A lot of data. Energy statistics, agriculture data, manufacturing data, shipping routes, road and rail distribution networks,
U.S. passenger transport datasets, vehicle MPG and assembly data, home electric, gas and water stats, waste and recycling, white goods, appliances, computers, laptops, cell phones,
to name a few of them. From various official sources, including U.S. federal and state governments, city offices, the UN, the EPA, Food and Agriculture Organization, Bureau of Transportation, U.S. Forest Service, USDA, global governments, Union of Concerned Scientists, Department of Energy and Climate Change, International Renewable Energy Agency, Energy Star, and many others from around the globe. Woo! So, all this data is great, but what do we do with it? We run it through our algorithms so we can convert all your daily activities to carbon dioxide emissions. For groceries, our algorithms focus on the type of product, where it is manufactured, size and packaging, and distribution routes, among other things. But to increase our accuracy, we also take specifics such as where you live and stores you purchase from. This will vary the final number because the type of energy source varies between regions, and so does the distance purchases travel. The disposal of products also has varying data from city to city. How do we refine our algorithms? We do life cycle analysis on different types of products that assists us. So, let's check in with Ben to see how we do that. Hi Ben, how's it going?
Hey Alexi, great to chat to you.
So, what do we want to analyze today?
Well, it's Friday afternoon, so I thought we'd take a look at the emissions from a bottle of whiskey.
Sounds fantastic. What do you need to start the life cycle analysis?
We need to understand each step of the process over the life cycle, establish boundary conditions, and calculate for our unique situation.
So for us, that is the materials and energy as the input, and byproducts, waste and recycling as our output. Whiskey originates from a Gaelic word meaning water, that comes from a Latin phrase translating to water of life. Sounds appropriate, but what are the steps to make our whiskey? Whiskey is made from a grain like barley, wheat, rye, or corn, and yeast. Then the most important ingredient, water. So our first goal is to analyze how these ingredients make it to the distillery and the corresponding emissions. Next comes the malting and mashing of the grain before fermentation. Interestingly, at that stage, it could be made into beer. However, whiskey moves into more processes, like distillation, in a still made from copper or stainless steel. Emissions from manufacturing the still is included, but will be small, as each still makes thousands of bottles. Next in manufacturing, the whiskey is transferred to a barrel for aging. This is where the whiskey gets its color and flavors. The aging barrels have emissions of their own, but unlike the still, they are only used 3 or 4 times, so the footprint will be relatively larger and spread over a smaller number of bottles. They also lose around 2% to evaporation for each year they spend in the cask, so the age of the whiskey will also vary the carbon footprint. So it's a complex process. Bottling comes next, which introduces another branch for the manufacture of the glass bottle, cork, labeling, and packaging. This is where our primary emissions will come from, but we're not finished yet. The distribution is the last step. This varies the most for each individual, depending on where you live. So, Ben, how do we analyze the life cycle of the whiskey?
Awesome summary, Lexi. You've given us our processes and boundary conditions, so now we can just map out all the emissions. What does that look like in LCA software? Let's take a look. We're using OpenLCA for our analysis, and I've prepared all the processes and flows. There is over 2 pounds of barley to make each bottle. During malting, they use 750 kilowatt hours from gas and 150 kilowatt hours from electricity for each tonne of malted barley produced, thanks to the Maltsters Association of Great Britain for that stat. Distillation has manufacture of the copper still before the malted barley runs through it. After distillation comes the aging, which provides the flavors and colors. We have added the oak barrel from Jerez in Spain. There are 53 gallons per barrel, which will produce around 31 gallons over the 12 years from evaporation, otherwise known as the angel share. After the aging comes the bottling, which includes the glass bottle and packaging. We add water to this step as it is 43% of alcohol by volume. The whiskey is shipped from Scotland to the US. We have some trucks and container ship distances in nautical miles. This is the graph of an overview of the process. You can see majority of the steps I've expanded there. And we finally get a CO2 equivalent for our emissions. You can see the percentage in contribution of each step. The total emissions are around 8.4 pounds of CO2 equivalent. If we recycle the packaging and glass, then this can be reduced. So we can compare that to our app. I can either scan or just type in manually, and you can see there very close in the emissions. We're generally within about a 95% tolerance. Outside of that is if you scan a single item and maybe it comes in a 6-pack or a 24-pack. On average, a bottle of liquor will have about 6.5 to 10 pounds of CO2 emissions, and you can always try and reduce that by recycling, repurposing the bottle and the packaging. So what do you think of that, Lexi?
That is great! So, unless you're drinking that whole bottle today, it sounds like our weekend libations can be sustainable. When using our app, don't worry if your scan doesn't come up right away, as our swarm will forage the result for you in just a few days. Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed our analysis of the life cycle CO2 emissions for whiskey. If you have any other products you're curious about, then please share in the comments and I'll get our hamster back in the wheel. Catch you next time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Swarm.